Right. So at Kotak Law, we represent clients who've been denied insurance claims, primarily those who've been denied short-term or long-term disability claims. Many people, through their employer, have a group plan that covers STD, short-term disability, or LTD, long-term disability. And in fact, many professionals have private plans as well that provide coverage. They could be a dentist or a doctor or a lawyer as well. Interestingly, most of our clients, unfortunately, are experiencing some form of mental illness, our long-term disability clients. You know, issues may begin physically or they may begin mentally, but often the ramification for having a pain disorder is unfortunately depression, anxiety, or even post-traumatic stress disorder. And the challenge, I think, for those clients is that first, there's a stigma attached, and there still is to this day, to mental illness. In other words, claims are people who are experiencing mental illness are less likely to report their symptoms to their physicians and to their employers and to other people. And secondly, even when they do, often there's no objective testing that you could find in an MRI or an X-ray. So they are disadvantaged in terms of those claims are more likely to be denied than the physical complaints, where you could have an X-ray or an MRI to show your what's going on with you. We've been very successful at our firm in representing clients who've been denied disability benefits due to mental illness and other disorders as well, or if there's a combination of physical or mental. We take a very holistic approach with our clients. We do engage their specialists, their family doctors, and often we will retain an expert witness of our own to do a proper assessment to look at functionality if the person is suffering mental illness or a physical complaint as well. How does it affect their ability to function in their daily lives, and of course how that affects their ability to work. We take a quick approach, an aggressive approach, I would say, with insurance companies. We make sure we commence our lawsuits in a very timely manner. Really in a few weeks after being retained, we obtain the full claims file from the insurance company involved. We obtain all the medical records, and again, we get expert opinions. And we understand that when clients are off work, they're really in need of money. And we understand these cases need to move very quickly. What we try to do is set up a mediation very quickly. It's a process where a neutral third party will mediate. In other words, both sides will sort of present their arguments and they'll facilitate a discussion. And that discussion will involve offering of numbers as well in terms of resolving a file. And you know, we have a lot of empathy with our clients, I think, because of our experience. I've been practicing law now for almost 30 years, and I do appear on television quite frequently, the major stations, whether it be online or TV or radio, and I do talk about mental illness and long-term disability cases. I'm actually a board member of the Ontario Trial Lawyers Association. I'm on the executive. I'm actually the secretary-treasurer of the board, and I am the chair of the long-term disability section here in Ontario. And I've held this position now, I think it's my third year. So I often, in fact, I speak at webinars and seminars, and I do mentor other lawyers who are entering this area of practice as well. So I do feel that we provide a very holistic representation to the client. Our office communicates very well. We get back to email clients by way of email, telephone calls, or Zoom meetings or personal meetings very, very quickly. And I'm happy with the results that we have been achieving for our respective clients.
What are the areas that what are the areas that Kotak Law services? Okay,
Right.
so what you want to say is the areas that, okay.
The areas that we cover in terms of geography, we represent clients throughout the country. In fact, I'm personally called to the bar in Ontario and Alberta, so we have offices out in Calgary and Edmonton as well. But we also have clients from the East Coast, from British Columbia, Saskatchewan, Manitoba also. Just the way technology is, and with our reputation and the results that we achieve, we've been quite helpful to clients throughout the country, and not just Ontario or the Greater Toronto area. Right. So it would depend on, if someone's been in a car accident, it often depends on which province you're in. But let's speak about Ontario. We have what's called a two-tier system. We have a no-fault system where somebody claims under the statutory and accident benefit schedule, and irrespective of whether they're at fault or not. We also have a tort component, which is where you sue the party at fault and their insurance company will indemnify them. Over the past, I would say, 10 years or so, unfortunately, the legislation, the Insurance Act, and the statutory accident benefit schedule have been watered down in a manner that really doesn't protect the injured victim, unfortunately. With respect to tort, for example, there's I think it's gone to $45,000 a deductible to pain and suffering, and that's going up every year due to inflation. For the no-fault, and actually I would suggest this, to even to get money for pain and suffering, you need to prove your injury is serious impairment. You have an permanent and serious impairment of an important bodily, mental, or psychological function. With a no-fault component, unfortunately, most claims are put in what's called a minor injury guideline, where you only get $3,500 of therapy, even though you might have paid for $65,000 worth of therapy and attendant care. You'd have to show that you have a fracture, a complete tear, dislocation, of a limb in order to be taken outside of the minor injury guideline. It's often very, very difficult, unfortunately. So it's a very challenging system in Ontario, and I would suggest you need a lawyer or a law firm who understands the Insurance Act, the complications of it, and how, in fact, to prove a claim. We find for slip and falls, often it occurs more in the winter due to slipping or tripping due to snow or ice. In those circumstances, one has to be very mindful of limitation periods and notice periods. There are strict limitation and notice periods for municipalities, and even for any other party in terms of putting them a notice in writing, and lawsuits need to be commenced within 2 years. So if you're in a slip and fall or trip and fall incident, I would suggest contacting a lawyer right away so you can be informed of your limitation periods with respect to your particular situation and who the potential defendant, that is the party you're going to sue, is. Slip and falls can occur, due to defects in pavement, for example. You see in malls with spills or obstructions in parking lots. So, unfortunately, there are many slip and fall cases that we do see come through our door. And again, particularly in the winter in Canada, there's a greater likelihood of falling. And it's not a standard of perfection. The defendants don't have to have a perfect floor. It's a question of reasonableness. Did they take reasonable care in the circumstances? Right. At Kotak Law, we have a fantastic, dynamic team. There's 4 of us lawyers. There's myself, there's Rajiv Hatte, Katie Yang, and Sergey Lagunov. Excellent litigators, great lawyers, and great people. They really, I would say they're people. They do a good job really advocating for their clients. We all do. We have tremendous support staff, paralegals, law clerks. Our intake clerks are amazing, and my executive assistant, Carolyn, is I think the best in terms of really organizing how things work at that front desk as well. So, we're here happy to help, and I'm really proud of our team. They are what makes Kotak Law what it is today.